All right, so I think I am live. I think so. I have a placeholder photo up. If you guys are getting some sort of an error that says I was live before, it's because I made a little mistake. Let me open my drink here. I'm going to give you guys a chance to get some people in here. Hopefully we get some people to chat about this week's shows. I'm really excited to talk about the stuff that we've had this week. We're going to talk about all 4 shows as usual. We'll probably skip through the first 2 and then move on to Arrow and the Flash. Anyway, it's okay, Layla. I'm not going to, let me take the image down. I won't be talking about the Flash for another like 20 to 30 minutes. So you don't have to worry about that. Anyway, I hope everybody's having a good evening. What's happening, everybody? Hopefully the stream is okay. I worked on it a little bit earlier and wanted to try and get the quality up a little bit. So hope everybody's doing good. Hope the stream looks okay. Yeah, you can come back in 15. That'll be fine. So as you guys can see, no Pagey. He's a shill. He's at Endgame tonight. So no Pagey. It's just me and you guys talking. It's going to be the stream probably won't be as long because usually both of us have to give our opinions about stuff. And because he's not here, not going to happen. Again, I hope the quality is okay for you guys. DC Potter Disnerd. That's a very cool name. Thank you for the kind words about being an inspiration. Can always hope to help and be an inspiration for people. So yeah, good luck with your channel and let me know if there's anything I can do to help out. I'll be seeing Endgame I think tomorrow sometime-ish. And then I'm seeing it again on Thursday and then again on the weekend. And I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of Endgame the Friday morning. I don't want to do it before people have had a chance to, other people have had a chance to see it. I don't want to spoil it either, so it'll be spoiler-free. Anyway, so if you are coming into the chat now and you are watching this on playback, just know we will be talking spoilers for all 4 of the Arrowverse shows. That includes Supergirl, Legends, Arrow, and The Flash. So be aware of that. There are going to be timestamps put into this video after I'm done. So if you want to skip ahead to a part or skip back to a part, you can do that as well. And again, thank you guys so much for coming and joining me in tonight's stream. So Super Chat is active for anybody that wants to help support the channel. I will answer those questions as they become important to what we're talking about. So if you ask a Flash question, I may wait till we're talking about the Flash to answer that. But if it's on topic, I'll answer it right away. So, Naruto0076 with a $5 super chat right out the gate. Haven't even started talking about the shows yet. Thank you so much for that super chat. And he says, hey, I just wanted to ask any plans to bring back Smallville reviews, please, LOL. I was having issues with Smallville before because of content claims. However, I think that's all sorted out now. And since I'm going to be doing new stuff over the summer, it would be a good opportunity for me to bring those back. So I may bring them back. They may be something that I do with you guys, either a live season overview after I've watched the whole season and just go live to talk about it with you guys, or something I record. I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see which works best for me. So anyway, thank you so much for that super chat. Bring back Smallville. All right, so goodness gracious, I forgot to put up the titles of the episodes. I usually have them in front of me because I have so many titles in my head. So let's talk about the first show this week, and it was Supergirl. And I think Supergirl was it Crime and Punishment? I think that was the title of the episode, Crime and Punishment, I believe. You guys can let me know in the chat if that's correct or incorrect. So we're talking about Supergirl this week and sort of just get this out of the way here because I know there's a lot of people that said they loved this episode and a lot of people that didn't like it. This episode was yes, that's correct. Okay, thank you. This episode was the follow-up to Red Daughter framing Supergirl and getting the president and everybody to turn against her. And so we're dealing with her trying to sort of clear her name in some way by tracking down information on Lex with the help of Lena. And so they go to the prison to go into Lex's cell and sort of ransack that to get information. and then they come across these prisoners, or this prisoner who knows a lot about Lex and doesn't want to talk to Supergirl, but is totally willing to talk to Kara Danvers, which I found very interesting. He's like, this stays between the two of us, right? That's what he was saying. You're talking to a reporter, somebody who works for a big multi-million-dollar conglomerate of like entertainment, fashion, news. So, I mean, like, it just, I don't know, that felt a little bit weird to me. So I want to know in the chat what your guys' thoughts were, general thoughts of this episode of Supergirl. And, did you like it? Did you dislike it? One of the things I loved about this episode was the interactions between Supergirl and Lena. We hadn't had a lot of that this season. We haven't had a lot of that in a while. So I was really happy to see that. And I thought that it was very well done. And I thought that, Lena and Supergirl, or Katie and Melissa, do really well together on screen. And I know there's a lot of people that have that, the Supercore ship for them. And so there was a lot of that buzz on Twitter from a lot of people who were happy to see the two of them together and in an episode working and spending time on screen. So I can understand that, like, in terms of like the two of them, because I do think they have good chemistry on screen together. As far as the ship goes, I made a comment on Twitter where I said, is Supergirl this season, is it the first season of a show where the main character has not had a love interest at all? And there's a lot of different responses to it. People talking about Arrow season 1, talking about Flash season 1, talking about some Legends stuff. But I feel like this season they've done a really good job of making Supergirl sort of independent and not really in that relationship thing. And so I thought that was kind of good. I enjoy that about this episode and this season, is that she's really just kind of standing on her own. So I thought that was kind of cool. As far as the fight scenes and stuff like that, I really enjoyed the fight scenes in this episode. I think that a lot of the practical effects look really good with the stuff between her and Otis as the version of Metallo. And I just did not like that bodysuit that they wear. If you look at the prosthetics for that, it looks really bad on the bottom half. So I'm not really a huge fan of that. Like, I think that out of all the prosthetic stuff they do, that's probably the weakest when it comes to Supergirl. So yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that, but I like the idea that Otis is back and he's very in character, because he does a lot of stupid stuff in this episode, and that's Otis. He's not very smart. So yeah, that's the kind of the gist of it, of the stuff that I really enjoyed this week. Haley wasn't so annoying. She had her moments. There was a couple times where she did stuff and I was like, yes, Haley's trying to win me back over. And then, oh no, it's back to like annoying, angry Haley. And so had to deal with that this week. So she was kind of cool though. I think they made a point of Alex saying that, or explaining who Haley is as a character, that she basically does what she thinks is best for the country. And so that was kind of what they were like pushing towards with her all season. I think it got lost in the rhetoric. So we'll see where that goes. Amir with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Amir. You said, where did she get her clothes in prison to change to Kara Danvers? Really? Yeah. So that's the thing is, when I did my review, I was almost like this close to leaving out of the review where I didn't talk about it, about her, Supergirl and Kara and the clothes change or whatever. But it did make me think like that's a huge I would say a retcon. It's a plot hole. Because we did not see her bring the clothes in with her. And if she was able to get out of that room to get the clothes, then she could have just left completely. So, like, that to me was a huge error in continuity, and it was just kind of stupid that happened. And plus, Otis believing it was believable, but the fact that she kind of knew he would, I don't know. That whole scene was really weird. Like I said, this episode was okay to me, and I had fun watching it, but it was not perfect. There was a lot of issues with it in terms of that. One of the big issues I had was when Lena went to Lex's cell, there's a lot of things there, like clues left for her. And I started wondering, like, why would he leave those clues for her? Why would they be there in the first place? And people could say, well, Lex has an ego. Maybe that's his ego sort of breaking out, that he doesn't think anybody could figure them out. But the thing is, they were things that Lena knew already, like as a child. So it wasn't like she had to figure anything out specifically. Like literally these were things that she did with him as a kid, with leaving notes in chess pieces. So what do you guys think that is about? That's really, really weird that he would do that. Does he feel guilty about something? Maybe the guilt in some of the things he's done drove him to like do things that were out of character, I guess. I don't know. And then the whole blowing up Otis and then putting him back together, wasn't a huge fan of that either. Also, people are talking about Kelly Olsen. Ashley mentioning Kelly Olsen. Kelly, I was like thinking that she was going to be a love interest for Alex. And I think this week sort of confirmed that because of the scene they shared together. Alex and her had a moment where they just kind of looked at each other. And they had that, like, we're looking at each other in the eyes and we're smiling and the scene is dragging on and the camera's pulling out and it's flashing back. Like, there was totally a moment there. I'm really thinking that they were setting something up with that. It's also weird to me that Kelly was going to be a therapist for Alex. And, you know, you don't want your therapist in a relationship with you. So maybe it's good that they kind of skated through that and they're like, hey, I'll send you to somebody else. You can talk to somebody else. Hopefully that happens. What else happened in this episode that was really good? It's like this episode to me kind of just, we know that next week, okay, so the Nia and Brainy stuff. Love that. I almost forgot about that. That's setting up next week's episode where Nia's going to be the main character because Supergirl realizes that she can't be Supergirl at the end of the episode. And that she needs to be Kara Danvers. And so she decides she's going to basically be that character for a while and not be Supergirl. It's probably going to be a money-saving episode. It's getting close to the end of the season, and a lot of times they'll throw in like a sort of fillerish episode where they basically pad the money for the rest of the season. So I feel like that might be what the next episode is. But we are going to get some Nia stuff. So if you're a huge fan of the Dreamer character, then you're going to have like a whole episode of her like out doing her thing. And so that's should be fun, I think. Overall, though, you know, I enjoyed the episode. I don't know if I'll go... Like, when I go back and watch seasons, sometimes I skip episodes because there's episodes that I just don't like. This will probably be one that I'll skip over simply because there wasn't really a ton of stuff that I thought was important. And there was some stuff that did bother me, like the whole thing about them not being able to contact Supergirl to tell her that she's going to be set up by the Children of Liberty and Agent Liberty. I thought that was a little bit weird. They did deputize the Children of Liberty at the end of this episode, so that's another just crazy thing. My big wish by the end of this season of Supergirl is that we get away from this whole aliens are bad, humans are good thing. Like, we've been doing it for so long. I'm just not about that life anymore, and I want to move on from that. And so hopefully this year we do move past that. And it may have something to do with what's going to happen with Crisis at the, not next year, but next season. So we'll have to see. Why doesn't Red Daughter just fight Supergirl already? I think it's because Lex wants to smear Supergirl's name. Like, he doesn't necessarily want to defeat Supergirl. He just wants to make her look bad. I think that's what's happening, but I'm not sure. Hey, Amethyst, how are you? Canada Graphs, the Bollywood episode. I know exactly. All right, so we've been talking about this for a good 12 minutes or so now. We're going to move on and talk about Legends. So in the chat, I want you guys to give me your score of this episode of Supergirl. Tell me what you think about it. Did you like it? Did you not like it? And what would you give it out of 10? Drop that in the chat now. And while you're doing that, I'm going to get the pictures set up for Legends. Yeah, there wasn't a lot to talk about for Supergirl, to be honest. I mean, the episode was kind of straightforward, so... Plus, I know you guys want me to get on to, like, Arrow and The Flash, so... Some 6s, some 7s, a 5. Okay. All right. My Legends review is done. I'm not uploading it. I'm uploading Flash in the morning, and then I'll do Legends either like late tomorrow or first thing. Like, here's the thing. When I have my videos scheduled to go out, I have several videos that are made already. I have a Red Death video, I have a Godspeed video, and I have a Arrow video, all bonus videos ready to go. So I have to figure out where I'm going to place them. So I don't know if people would rather see like my Legends review or if they'd rather see like a bonus video. I don't know. All right, let's move this up a little bit. All right. So we're going to talk about Legends. Now, Legends episode was The Eggplant, the Witch in the Wardrobe, I believe was the title, because I thought the name of it was so weird when I did my multiverse mega video. I was like, that's a weird title for an episode. Like what does this even mean? Right? Like, why did I miss what the eggplant reference was? Did I miss it completely? Like, in the chat, let me know, did I miss why they called it Eggplant, Witch in the Wardrobe? Because I don't think was there a reference to that anywhere in the episode? I didn't remember seeing anything in reference to that. And so I kept thinking, like, well, the Witch in the Wardrobe I kind of understand because of some of the stuff that happened. But the eggplant thing was like, what does that even mean? Right, I get what it is with the emoji and the you know, the connotations around it, but I don't understand what the reference was in this episode. Which is kind of why I was asking, did I miss it or did I not miss it? Because I didn't see anything. And when I was watching the episode, I'm like, where is the reference to this, the eggplant emoji or this eggplant thing? Like, I don't see it anywhere in here. You know, Amino, as weird as that is, that could possibly be what it is. That could be. I don't know. Okay, so Legends. Let us dive into this. Paigey is watching Endgame because he's a Marvel show. He'll be back next week. We'll be live streaming again next week. And we're actually going to do a live stream about Endgame. Like a special separate live stream. So you guys get ready for that. So the episode started out really promising. I have to say, like the very beginning, the first maybe 8 or 10 minutes, I was like, all right, this looks pretty cool. It's going to be kind of dark. It's going to be a little bit gritty. It's going to be magical. So, okay, I'm on board with that. We're going to get some Constantine stuff. We got Nora Dark in the mix. We're going to be saving, you know, Ava from this prison that she's in. All of it sounded really good to me. And matter of fact, in my mega video, I'm like, if this episode is anything like the pictures I'm seeing, I'm going to be super excited for it. Maybe it'll be the first episode of the season where I'm really overjoyed, right? Jim Boy, yeah, thank you for the $9.99 super chat. I will talk about that super chat in between this and the next topic, all right? So stick around. But when it comes to Legends, boy, was I wrong. Was I totally and completely wrong about Legends this week? So wrong. It started out really, really good. The premise sounded really, really good. And then we got to watch Sarah and Ava go to IKEA and assemble furniture. We got to see them pick out mattresses. We got to see them walk around the store talking and shopping and like no action at all. Just shopping at a knockoff IKEA. Okay. That's not really what I was expecting. I didn't tune in to see that. So I kept thinking the whole time it was going on, like, okay, what are we leading up to? This Tabitha character? Are we going to see something cool with Tabitha? Is she going to show up and then Ava and Sarah are going to have to kick her butt together or something like that? But nope. None of that. And, you know, I get the, like, Giovanni, I get the Ava and Sarah character development stuff, but it went on too long. It went on for way, way too long. The entire episode, that second portion of it, was the IKEA stuff. I did like that the store, I think, was named Jen, which is named after the actress who plays Ava, which I thought was... But yeah, the Ava Sarah stuff, I could have done it for about maybe 1 or 2 scenes, but it went on like the whole episode. Was not cool with that. The Gary showed up. Gary's less annoying than Mona. So then the other thing we have going on is the Nate stuff with his dad and trying to go to where Haywood was going to be built. By the way, this Haywood thing is so ridiculous. If they would have mentioned it and then just dropped it in that episode, I probably could have forgiven them, but they are 1000% dedicated to the idea of Haywood. It's so stupid. It's so absolutely stupid. I mean, I guess what should I expect when they had Mollis face off against a supersized charged up Bebo at the end of last season, but this is just like, it's another level of just idiocracy. Like, it's just really, really, really bad. Yeah, Nate steals up to block a ball, but then the rest of the season, when he's actually needed to use his powers, he doesn't use it. So there's that. So the whole Nate storyline with his dad, again, more stuff to just bide their time because they don't have the budget to do the kind of show they want to do. Okay, before I even get into the other story, let's just put this on the table. Legends is too expensive. That's just it. Legends is too expensive. It needs to be a 10-episode series with the same budget they have right now. But the problem is, the CW will never cut the episodes back because they need to get advertisers to pay for the series. So it's a no-win situation. Legends is far too expensive to do what they want to do. And instead of the writers being smart about giving us filler episodes, we get a bunch of episodes where they cut corners and they try to drag out uninteresting storylines because they don't have the money to do the kind of stories that they want to tell. So we get stuff like Jane Austen. We get stuff like the IKEA situation. We get stories like that because the budget just isn't there to do the kind of show that they want to do. Legends was supposed to be a Justice League type show. That's why we had so many cool characters going into it in the first season. And even the second season, maybe even the third season. And here we are now, and yeah, they're a band of misfits, but they don't even use the powers that they have. That's the thing. We had a whole section of this episode dedicated to Charlie, Mona, Mick, and Zari writing a text message to Nate. There was an entire 10 to 12 minutes of the episode dedicated to that. That is absolutely ridiculous. There's no point in that. There's no point in it. Like, number one, the majority of the people I know don't like the Nate and Zari pairing anyway. So to spend so much time on it, it just seems so pointless and stupid and ridiculous. And, you know, that's just the way it is. Now, the main story with the whole Desmond and Constantine and capturing him and locking him up, all of that was very cool. All of that was cool. I thought it was all very interesting. I love the special effects. I think they did a really good job with that part of the story. You know, well, Ava's one of my favorite characters, Finn. Still, she's one of my favorite characters. So anyway, they get him in the cell, but then Nora is running around out in the open. Granted, we know that she was framed for what happened, but still she's not supposed to be out of a cell. And she turned herself in. So I'm like, oh wow, she's just running around like nothing's wrong. It's just this episode was all over the place. Yes, there was no one to lock her in the cell, but still, the premise still stands. She wanted to pay for what she did, and so where did that story go, right? Where did that go? And then when Nate goes into the room and breaks the door on his side, but they still can't open it from their side. Legends. I did like the twist at the end. If there's anything that I liked in the episode, I liked the twist at the end where we thought that Nora was going to be a bad guy and that she was going to be working with Neron, and it ends up being Ray that gets possessed by Neron. I like that. So they got my hopes up again for the next episode. But I'm going to try and keep it reined in because my expectations are already low. So I'm just going to keep my expectations low. So that way I can actually go into the episode and be surprised when they do something good. That's the way I look at it. Legends for me is a wash. It's a complete wash. And I cannot wait until you guys see my review on this because it is very similar to what we're getting here, just over a longer period of time. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Okay? So in the chat, you guys, give your score from 1 to 10 on what you think of this week's Legends of Tomorrow. I want to know what your score is. Very, very, very interested. While we're doing the scores, I'm going to answer the question from Jim Boy, the $9.99 super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You said, a little off topic, but it would be kind of cool to have a fully developed tech advanced Krypton that was abandoned so one of the supers could tie into Lanterns and Diggle. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Krypton right now is a show. I think the production value is really high. And I think they're telling some interesting stories. I don't like that there's all these classic Superman villains showing up. One of the biggest problems I have with Gotham is not a bad show. I enjoy Gotham. One of the biggest problems I had with Gotham in the beginning, and one of the problems I have with Krypton, is they're using classic villains for characters that should not be around yet. And I know they're Elseworld stories, but it bothers me. It bugs me. So I would love to see something like that. That would be very cool, and it would be fun to have that tie-in. So I agree. Thank you so much for the super chat. Yes, Anthony, I agree about it being a one-off. It's quite possible. Also, Ava is basically a really intelligent AI, as far as I know. So how a soul could reside in her, I don't know. I have no clue. I guess because they can possess dolls, they can also possess artificial intelligence. But still, how could she be in limbo? Technically, she wouldn't even need to do that. She could just possess her because she's already a robot. I don't know. I'm probably thinking too hard about it. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about Arrow. Let me get the pictures up here. This week, yes, about Ava. All the above about Ava. So this week's Arrow was titled Spartan, and it was the Diggle-centric episode that we knew about, a while back. We also knew that it was the episode that was going to introduce some sort of tie-in to Diggle's family. At least a lot of us believe that. There was spoilers out there about it. She was basically a clone AI, Bryce, which is what, again, very confusing. We're getting that tie-in with the whole Diggle and, the Diggle and the General Stewart and the DIA and the whole thing with Ninth Circle. All of it was sort of going to combine together in this episode, and we bring it together for a Diggle-centric story. Now, I enjoyed the episode. I thought the episode at its core was a decent episode. I felt like Diggle is, again, one of the MVPs of Arrow. He's one of the best characters in the Arrowverse. I said in my review that I would totally watch an episode or a series with Diggle as the main character. I would tune in every week for that. I just love Diggle. Absolutely love him. Think he's great. So would love to watch a show with him. And I hate, out of everybody we're losing in the Arrowverse from Arrow, next to Stephen Amell, Green Arrow himself, is the fact that Diggle, we're also losing Diggle as well. And that's unfortunate because I really like Diggle. So I guess the big bombshell for this episode was that Diggle's father was part of a military group where he was supposedly the hero of the group. And he got killed in the line of duty, so General Stewart became his stepfather, and he did not adopt the name of Stewart, but he could because legally he could just adopt his stepfather's name if he wanted. So you said, wait, is Diggle leaving? Diggle is leaving as in the whole show is getting ended next season. So as far as we know, he's not going to be Death's Hands. He's not going to be on another show. So that's where the Stewart thing came into play. A lot of green teasers, as in Diggle standing in front of a green wall, Diggle in a green room, and then the cave in front of, there was a lot of very clear, straightforward, connections to the Green Lantern mythos. And the Omega, I'm going to answer your super chat in just a second. Let me finish my train of thought here. So the idea that he's going to be a Green Lantern, if we're going to see it, I think at this point, it would be another Earth's Green Lantern. They're just setting the stage for that. Sort of like they did with Henry Allen and Jay Garrick and that whole story. I feel like they're laying the foundation for it. So our Diggle will stay Spartan. He's never going to be a Green Lantern. But we will get probably a multiversal version of Diggle who is the Green Lantern. Just for Crisis. Which I would be okay with. Because I love Diggle. I think Diggle's awesome. And so getting him as John Stewart as a Green Lantern I think would be really cool. So let me go ahead and talk about Omega Super Chat here. $4.99 Super Chat from the Omega 311. Thank you so much for the Super Chat. You said, Roy Harper coming back for the rest of the season, excitement level between 1 and 10. I'm always happy for Roy Harper to come back. He's one of my favorite characters, and I was actually sad to see him go when he left, because I think he's been, next to Diggle, Roy was Oliver's best sidekick. So having him come back, awesome. Not the whole future scenes was fine, but I want to see more of him. And I think having him back on the show in a bigger way is a huge win, a plus for me. Naruto0076 with a $2 super chat says, Diggle Green Lantern Space spinoff. I would watch it. I would totally watch it. I would totally watch it, and it would be a show that I would support 1000%. I don't know based on like the money we have for Legends if we could do that, but yeah, it would be kind of cool. So let's see. What I want to talk about specifically from this episode. There's so many things that I could talk about. Let's go ahead and jump into the Emiko stuff, because I think that there was a reveal there that we've been talking about for a while in terms of Emiko's role in the Ninth Circle and Dante's motivations. And if Peiji were here, he would be probably going back and forth with me about this. So we'll probably talk about it more next week when he's back. So you guys can hear that conversation. But for now, I feel like the idea that Emiko believed Oliver in what Dante did, and what Dante doing for Emiko to become basically devoted to the Ninth Circle was something that I think a lot of us had suspected from the beginning. It made sense. Once we found out that there was a connection between Emiko and Dante, the writing was kind of on the wall. So having him be the one to set up the hit on her mother to get her to be more dedicated to the Ninth Circle, totally believable. I get it. I understand it. But it seems like Emiko is still dedicated to the Ninth Circle. So maybe he did it for nothing. Maybe all of that was for nothing. Maybe that's completely why I feel like that storyline was a waste of time. I feel like Dante was a waste of time. Yes, this episode of Arrow was very rushed. It was an episode that had so much happening, but it went through really fast. And I even said that in my review. But yeah, we built up Dante as this big character, and then we completely throw that to the side and wash it out in just like a 2-second scene at the end of this episode. And so it's sad to see Dante go, but I think what this means is now Emiko is going to pick up the mantle, and she is going to be the bad guy for the rest of the season. I know Peiji doesn't want that. And I believe he said in his review, and I'm paraphrasing here, that he would consider it to be, he would not like it if Emiko ended up being the big bad. Again, we'll talk about this next week when he's here. So, that's how he feels about it. I personally think Emiko being the big bad makes the most sense right now. So that's kind of how I feel about it. So we got that reveal. We still don't know why Emiko dressed up as Oliver Queen or as the Green Arrow and ran around Star City. I feel like that's a storyline that's just never going to be explained. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I think we're going to just not, it'll be something that we just don't get an explanation for. All right, let's see. Ash Barryon with the $5 super chat says, so the drama surrounding Flashpoint was pointless in the Invasion crossover because Arrow has retconned Connor Hawke as John Jr. Let's talk about that a bit, because there were some people on Twitter as well as over in Paige's Discord who kind of questioned me on it. Let me sort of explain my reasoning for being so upset about that. Thank you so much for the super chat. So I believe the episode was Star City 2046 in Legends, where we saw the actor who plays Connor Hawke playing John Diggle Jr. And the reason why this was such a big deal is because Oliver knows him as John Diggle Jr., which means that he knew this child through his entire life, growing up to be an adult. He refers to him as John Jr. in that episode. Now, the problem lies in here, not in the fact that that future is gone, that it's been basically, it's not a thing anymore, that we're not dealing with that future anymore. The problem lies in the fact that he is biologically Diggle's son in that future. And he looks like the same person because it is the same actor. He took up the name of Connor Hawke as sort of an alias in this new world because he did not want to use his father's name for stuff that we never really understood completely in that episode. All right. That's where the problem starts. Coming into this season of Arrow, he returns and he's Connor Hawke. But Connor Hawke is his real name in this season of Arrow, but it's the same actor. And the same actor knows John Diggle Jr. So now the idea that actor could be both of them originally bothered me anyway because of the fact he was Connor Hawke, right? That bugged me because that was his real name. So now it's even worse because John Diggle Jr. is a separate person. They're two different people, completely. So now we have Connor Hawke and John Diggle Jr. as two separate individual people. John Diggle Jr. is now the leader of the Deathstroke gang. He's a bad guy, and all of that happened off screen. All of that happened where we'll never understand his motivations for doing it. We'll never understand why it's a thing. We'll never understand any of that. And that bothers me. It's something that just bugs the hell out of me, really. And so, like, if they would have kept him, Connor Hawke, as the same person and never introduced John Diggle Jr. as a separate character, I could probably buy the idea that he's using different aliases in these two realities. But now that's not the case. Now they're two separate people. So it's even worse for me now. And the fact that Diggle's son is a bad guy who runs the Deathstroke gang, if that's not just the worst possible thing they could have done, I don't know what is. I really hope that moving into next season, we explore that a bit more. Simply because I feel like it's bad. It's like you've basically taken the legacy of a character and turned him into a bad guy with no explanation whatsoever. So, well, Laura, that's fine that they want to do a different version. I get it. But we're talking about genetics. Unless they're actual identical twins, there's no reason that John Diggle and Connor Hawke should be two separate people in this world. There should be no reason why. Because he was John Jr. in the 2046 future. So changing time can change the way characters grow up. It could change their names. It could change those kinds of things. But you can't take a character who's biologically someone else's child and make them biologically someone else's child that looks identical. That's not how time travel works. So, I mean, it's fine if that's the way they want to do it that way, but it logically, even by their own rules, it doesn't make any sense. It's a problem. It's a plot hole. It's a continuity error. And there's really not much that can convince me otherwise now, unless we come up with some weird genetic reason why he looks the same as John Diggle Jr. What was the point of changing Sarah to John Jr. if you were just going to do this? What was the point of that? That doesn't make any sense. You didn't have to change him. If you had no intention of ever using John Jr. in this way, then there was no point in making Sarah Diggle John Diggle Jr. There's no point in that. So totally dropped the ball on that for me. I'm thinking, like, it's so stupid. Can I live with it? Yes. I mean, it's not something that's going to completely destroy everything for me. I just think it's an unfortunate thing. So, right, Omega, but they didn't have to use the same actor. That's my problem. They didn't have to use the same actor. That was their choice. If we're saying that Legends had no effect on Arrow, then why did they bring the same actor over? They obviously did it because they wanted the fans to see the same person back again. I was one of the people that wanted Connor Hawke to come back. I don't like the way they're using it. So, Anti-Monitor says, how would you feel at the show that Connor and JJ have switched identities? It doesn't matter, really, because John Diggle Jr. in 2046 was the biological son of Diggle. So even if they switched their identities, he still should not look like John Diggle Jr. That's the problem. So, anyway, just using the name Connor, he's a good actor. I wanted him back. This change was unnecessary. Okay, so let me ask you guys logically. What was the reason to make him Connor Hawke and not John Diggle Jr.? Look at the future now. What was the reason for that? I'm looking at the chat. I just want to know from you guys, why did they change him to Connor Hawke? What was the story-driven reason for that to happen? Because now John Jr. is the leader of the Deathstroke gang. They're not going to show him. So what was the reason for changing Connor Hawke to Connor Hawke and not John Diggle Jr.? Because Bronze Tiger hasn't come back into play. That scene in the jail they didn't have to do that. It was unnecessary. The only reason we got that scene is because they made the decision to change him. There's no story reason why Connor Hawke could not still be John Diggle Jr. And actually, if you think about it, it would make more sense for him to be John Diggle Jr. because then it would be a love story between the kids of two best friends. It would bring so much more meaning to them. You would have Diggle's son and Oliver's daughter who love and care about each other and they want to be in a relationship together. And that is like the ultimate tribute to the friendship that they had as teammates, as friends, as brothers in arms. So now we have this disconnected version of that because Connor is Bronze Tiger's son. There's no logical reason why they had to change it. They haven't shown us any reason why it was important for them to do that. And I've been waiting for it to happen. So that's just my thoughts on that. And I could rant on that for hours and hours and hours. Mia is still not great to me. I feel like Mia doesn't actually live up to the lead actress, I guess the quality of a lead actress to me. I don't know. So yeah, I know Beth wanted to do it. That's obviously why, but there's no story reason why. So it leaves a possible really good tie-in to Diggle and Oliver's children that's gone. So where's Andy's son? Where's Maxwell Lord? So we also get more information. I'm looking at the pictures now. We get more information on this whole Archer program, and it looks like Elena is going to be the one to take the root for the source code for Archer and use it in a negative way. Felicity's going to find that out. I'm pretty sure that's going to tie into something next season. And then we're going to be seeing how Elena is going to be, building up Archer. Also, before we move on, one last thing I want to talk about is the funny scene where all of the DIA agents burst through the ceiling and the windows. That was freaking hilarious. I started laughing so hard when that happened because I'm like, were they sitting up there the whole time? Were they like this? They're on the phone. Yeah. So we're just chilling in between an apartment and another room for no reason at all. We're not going to warn the people in there because that would be too easy. We could literally just drop down now and wait for the other guys to come in. But let's wait until just the right moment. Get this. Where one's got a keyboard, the other one's got a tablet, and they're almost going to get shot, and then we'll drop in. That'll be great. That will be so awesome. We'll drop right in right when they think they're going to get killed. It'll be amazing. Come through the windows. It'll be so great. It'll be so great. Yeah, no, we're not going to do it early. We're going to wait. We're just going to chill. Matter of fact, I hear them now. Oh, listen, they're fighting down there. Yeah, that'll be great. What was that scene? That scene was so stupid. So stupid. Also, what's the point of the Archer program if the Archer program doesn't actually do anything when it detects intruders? It's so stupid. It's telling you the intruders are there, but it doesn't do anything. Taking it way too serious, I'm laughing about it. It was funny to me. That's like the opposite of taking it too serious. It was actually a really funny scene. All right. So it doesn't call it doesn't do anything. It just tells you. It tells you when there's intruders. All right. So let's talk about what I think everybody is here to talk about. All right. Before we do that, in the chat, give me your score on this week's Arrow from 1 to 10. I want to know what you guys thought about it. All right. 1 to 10. Come on. What was serious about that? That was a joke. That whole thing was me being funny about these guys sitting in the ceiling. I'm not sure I've been serious before. That was definitely not me being serious. $2 super chat from Naruto, a security system that doesn't call the cops. Exactly. It's very, very, very stupid. Thank you so much for the super chat. Ash with a super chat. Thank you so much. I see a lot of people giving it pretty good scores. I didn't think that was me being sarcastic. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't read the sarcasm in the chat, but I do apologize. 7 because of the Diggle story. I love the scenes between Ernie Hudson and Diggle, or David Ramsey and Ernie Hudson, Diggle and his stepfather. And hopefully he comes back next season. I do believe they said that there's a possibility for him to return. So, all right, here we go. Let's go ahead and look at The Flash. All right, so this week's episode of The Flash was titled Snowpack. And even if you're joking, Adriel, if you start doing that, I'm going to start like banning people from the chat. Not because of the fact that it's a joke, but I don't want anyone to get mad about stuff like that. If any of my mods that are in here see anything that looks like a spoiler, you have my permission to mute the person, because I don't care if it's a joke or not. And that's one of the reasons why I almost didn't go live tonight. Okay, so yeah, it's a joke, but if you haven't seen the movie and you say it and it actually ends up true, then it's really a spoiler. That's why you can't joke about it. Okay, so this week's episode of The Flash was titled Snowpack, and we had two separate stories going on, right? We had the story with Caitlin and her mother, her father, that story, and we had the story with Iris and Nora and Eobard, right? So let's go ahead and do the super chat from Ash Barryon with the $5 super chat. He says, Nora, you were the chosen one. It was said that you would defeat Thawne, not join him, bring balance to the Speed Force, and not leave it in darkness. I love the Star Wars reference there. That's really good. So I actually, there was a lot of mixed feelings about this episode in Paige's live chat. And I saw some people who were actually excited about this episode and some people that didn't like it. And so I feel like I actually enjoyed the episode because the frustration in the characters between Iris and Barry and that whole story, it felt like it felt on the personality of those characters. Like, it didn't feel like they were pushing them too hard. It's literally what I would expect them to do. So I don't feel like that was a issue. Now, whether or not you like the way those characters are is a whole nother thing. And I know a lot of people don't like the way Barry acts sometimes. I know some people don't like the way Iris acts sometimes. It is what it is, right? That's kind of the way the ball bounces. So what should we talk about first? I think we'll get the Caitlin stuff out of the way first, because that was the kind of the cut and dry part of the episode, whereas the stuff with Barry and Iris and Nora is a bit more complicated. All right. So the Caitlin storyline is we are following up on her father, Thomas, aka Icicle, or Icicle, aka Thomas. Amir, I see your super chat. I'll answer in just a second. We had not seen him since, I believe, episode 6. My biggest issue was he's been just kind of MIA. Like, he hasn't been around. And him being a threat is a pretty big deal. So the fact that they just kind of let him run around and do what he wants bugged me a little bit, right? It was one of those things where I'm like, I don't know about this, but it doesn't really matter, because in this episode, he ends up biting the dust. So his storyline is pretty much done. So we don't have to worry about that anymore. But I was a little bit concerned about that. Again, doesn't matter anymore. So Caitlin and her mother are having mother-daughter issues and father-daughter issues. And one of the things I think that was lost in the writing of this episode, one of the things that I think a lot of people missed, and I don't think it was because people don't understand it. I think it's because the writers didn't necessarily do a good job of portraying it. No offense. I think it was kind of a mismatch. Was that they were trying to draw parallels between Caitlin's life with her mother and her father and Nora and her mother and her father. They were trying to do a parallel there with these two stories. I don't think it actually came together as well as they wanted it to. Each individual story, I think, was pretty good, but I don't think they lined up properly. But I think they were trying to sort of show us one cohesive idea with two separate stories. Whereas you see Caitlin, who's mad about the way her mother's acted, loving her father and wanting him to come back. And then you have Nora, who's mad at her, who's now mad at her father because he's mad at her, where her mother is there loving her and trying to basically take her back in. They were trying to sort of tell that same story. I don't think it ever actually came together in that way. I think partly because the action parts were really good. And so I think that they sort of missed the mark on that just a tad, just a little bit. So the Caitlin stuff with her mom, ultimately her dad wants to turn the family into this family of ice people. And so he takes this cryoatomizer. I think is the name of it, the cryoatomizer, which he was going to use to basically put an ice age around the center of this device. And that was his goal. That was what he wanted to do. But he also wanted to have a frozen family, I guess. So some of the things that didn't, in that portion of the story that didn't really settle well with me was the Caitlin stuff when in terms of like ice and stuff. We know that Caitlin, even when she's not Frost, she's not affected by cold temperatures or ice or anything like that. So it's weird that there was a lot of scenes in here where it seemed like she was affected by the cold. And I'm just like, that's a little weird. The meta cuffs, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I think over time, because she was having trouble with it, the meta cuffs and the meta devices that suppress powers were not working on her. And that was one of the problems they were having, was that since her powers weren't derived from dark matter the same way all the other metas were, that the dampening device did not work on her properly. So she was able to overcome it over time. So those cuffs probably shouldn't have done anything, in my opinion, unless I'm missing something. I'm pretty sure that the meta cuffs or the meta devices were not really working on her towards the end. So yeah, that was a little weird. Outside of that, Caitlin is a meta is anybody who has superhuman powers that was a human. Metas are not defined by being made from dark matter. I don't know why that's such a difficult concept for people. A metahuman is any human who has superpowers. They're just given to them different ways. Just like the bus metas and the metas from season 1 and the meta tech users all derive from dark matter, different ways, but they're all still considered metas. Yeah, Killer Frost was a dark matter metahuman, but they did retcon that. Finn, she did, but then over time, even that didn't work. Remember? Do you guys remember back when Cisco was trying to help her with that? It was getting to the point where it wasn't working. So technically, it should not have worked. Let me finish my thoughts on this, and then I'll answer the super chats about this. Yes, Pagey is at Endgame. He'll be back next week, and we're going to do an Endgame live stream. So finish my thoughts on this. The storyline with Caitlin and her mom. So we got a really cool fight scene between Frost and Icicle. Some of the best VFX and CGI we've seen in a really long time. I love that scene. Probably the highlight of the episode for me was that scene, that fight scene. I thought it was really, really, really good. And I love the moment they had at the end where Thomas basically took control of Icicle and stopped him from basically killing his daughter. So I thought that was really, really good. And then the thing with her mother being put inside the device to basically turn her into a metahuman. And then we get the little sneak at the end where it's like, is she a metahuman? Is she not a metahuman? But she's actually going to be a metahuman. Thank you guys. It's the season 4 suit. That's my favorite one. So we get that little sneak. She's going to be a metahuman. She'll probably end up being a bad guy because now her and Caitlin are back on good terms. And Icicle, Thomas, is actually dead now. So that's it. He's gone. His storyline's over. And my issue with that scene, the only issue I had with that portion of the story was the Cicada 2.0 stuff. And in the chat, you guys can let me know, because I love to hear feedback. When Cicada came in to get the device to try and basically do something with, her and her younger self, because one of the small things that happened at the beginning of the episode was she actually went to the hospital, kidnapped her younger self, and took her back to the cabin. That's pretty much the gist of that. So she goes to get this device. She leaves Barry laying on the ground, completely unprotected, where she could have ended him then. She could have ended Killer Frost, but she just left again. And I'm thinking her primary goal is to kill all metas. So if she went to get a device that is going to do that, she could have eliminated 2 of them that would have been the biggest problem for her. And she had the perfect opportunity to do it. She had no reason to leave them alive. You're right, Tashawn, it was plot. She had no reason to leave them alive. There was no reason. And then when Wells says at the end of the episode, well, she wasn't or they weren't the primary target, it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter at all. If her primary goal was to get this device to disperse and hurt metas, then she could have gotten rid of 2 of them right there. And I get it. Here's the thing. Not stupid, you guys. They can't kill off the main character of the show, and they're not going to kill off Killer Frost like that. I get that, right? But On the other side of that is the writers need to stop putting her in positions where she's leaving them behind for no reason at all. See what I'm saying? It's the writer's responsibility to do that. It would have made more sense for her to have a reason to leave, like she was hurt or somebody was threatening her or something like that. That would make more sense. But her leaving on her own doesn't make any sense. So it is what it is. All right, let's move on from that. I'm going to answer some of these super chats. Let's go back up here. Amir with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much. You said, I prefer the lightning color was unique to the Speedster now with Thawne as the creator of the negative Speed Force may lead to the idea that Barry was the creator of the main one as in the comics. Yeah, I agree with you. We haven't really had a good definition of lightning in the show. They've alluded to it a couple times, like with the stuff with the V9, the lightning differences between Zoom, the lightning differences between Trajectory and Zoom. They've done that a few times, but they haven't really gone into it heavily. I would love if season 6 of The Flash was all about the different color lightnings. If we got a variation of speedsters that use different color lightnings and we dove into what those were about, that would be really cool. That would be very true to the comics, and it would be something really interesting they could do that they haven't done yet. Give us a bunch of different people that use Speed Force lightning in different colors. And yes, the idea of the negative Speed Force, going to talk about that in a second. So glad that we actually are officially confirming it because it's something that's been around since the first season that nobody's ever really talked about. All right, Mike Haran with a $2 super chat. Icicle is cured, then died, another wasted plot. Yes, just like with Arrow, there was a couple of drop balls in terms of the plot this week where they introduced stories and they just do away with them so quickly. I agree with you there. And we'll have to see. It's basically set up her mother as being a bad guy. So we'll have to see. Ash with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. She said, honestly, whenever someone gives Barry crap about Flashpoint, he should bring up that he had to reverse it and to practically beg Thawne to kill his mother. That's a really good point. I would love to see something like that and where he has to actually bring that up again. Because we got a little bit of that at the beginning of the episode where he was talking to Iris and that scene. And there's also a lot of people that don't understand that Barry doesn't do things and gets away with them. Barry pays the price for all the mistakes he makes. He's the lead of the show. So they're not going to do but so much in terms of punishing him. He just has to live with the decisions he makes. Zoom here says that would be true to the comics. Sub lightning color in the comics almost purely aesthetic. It never means anything. I'm going to disagree with you there. There are several reasons why lightning is different colors in the comics, and I would love for them to basically, cover that in the show. And it's not, and I agree with you, it's not always that way, but it has been talked about in the comics. Mr. Wolfchamp, negative Speed Force is a dumb idea. It hasn't been around. It was just introduced. It makes no sense. Same as regular Speed Force. What's the point of calling it something else? Because of the fact that the whole character of Eobard Thawne and his story from the comics is connected to the negative Speed Force. The color of it has been connected. And so the fact that they're introducing it into the show officially makes sense to me. It would make a lot of sense. It would explain a lot of the things that Eobard's able to do that Barry was unable to deal with or handle or understand. I like it. I like the idea of the negative Speed Force. I don't understand. I've seen people say they don't like it. I don't understand why people don't like it. I think it's a great idea, and it's something they can play with in coming seasons that doesn't deal with just time travel. It doesn't deal with just being faster. So, yeah, I like it. All right, Amethyst, thank you so much for coming in. I'll see you soon. So let's talk about the beginning of the episode. So there's a lot of people with the hashtag Barry was right. A lot of people with the hashtag Iris was right. A lot of people with the hashtag Nora did no wrong. And I'm going to break it down to you guys, my thoughts on it. Very, 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 I'm going to go into detail about this. So last week I said, and I reiterated this during a live stream, that later Lightning, at the live stream, that I understood why Barry did what he did. I agree with his decisions to take Nora back to the future because in my opinion, Nora should have never been left in the past at all. Barry was the one in I think it was the second episode, maybe. It might have even been the first episode. Can't even remember, where he says, let's just keep her around for a while. That was Barry's choice. It wasn't Iris's choice. It wasn't Joe's choice. It wasn't Nora's choice. It was Barry's choice. Barry is the one that made that mistake. So a lot of the responsibility of things that went wrong do sort of fall on Barry's shoulders. I'm not exonerating him of any of that. I think that he does bear some of the responsibility for that. All right, that's number one. Number two is Nora, the whole time, was literally keeping from the rest of the team that she was working with Eobard Thawne. It's not like she went to her dad and said, hey, Dad, do you think that somebody can become a good person if they've been bad, right? She has that conversation with him and then explains to him why she asked that question. And that's the big thing that people seem to forget. Nora never ever told her dad specifically what she was talking about. It was all hypothetical. All hypothetical. He had no idea that Nora was actually working with a bad guy. He had no idea that she was running back and forth and delivering information with Gideon. He had no idea that any of this was going on. So Nora bears the brunt of the responsibility here. That's the God honest truth. She was the one that made these decisions. She was the one running and doing all of these things. So Nora does actually bear the brunt of the responsibility. Now you could chalk it up to her being young. You could chalk it up to her being inexperienced, but that doesn't matter. If you get into a car and you hit someone else and hurt them, guess what? Even if you didn't mean to do it, it's still your fault. You're still the person that caused that to happen. So whether Nora was ignorant or negligent or whatever that may be, ultimately the decisions that she's made, the things that she's done have caused really big problems. There's a lot of deaths that are on Nora's hands because of what happened with Cicada. That's just the truth. And if you think about it with Flashpoint, Barry made so many bad decisions and he ultimately had to tell Thawne, go ahead and do what you got to do. Go back and finish my mother off and let's restart this whole thing. So he had to make that decision. He learned his lesson. Nora has not learned her lesson. She has not learned a lesson from this. And that's what Barry was trying to do, was he was trying to teach her a lesson on responsibility with these powers. And there's no one in Star Labs better to teach her the lessons of making mistakes with the Speed Force, with making mistakes with time travel, than Barry Allen. Not on top of that, it's his daughter. He's her father. And you may say, well, she's a grown woman, but still, it's his daughter, and she's there to see her dad. That was her reason for coming back. So I'm just saying. From a story standpoint, I understand why he did it. Now, the thing that I think the mistake that Barry made, and you guys can disagree with me on this, is he did not tell Iris. I don't think that Iris was not going to agree with him. I know that. He knew that already because Iris was the one that let Nora out of the pipeline. So he knew that she wasn't going to agree with him with what he did. He already knew that. But he could have at least told her what he was going to do. That's the only thing that I think was wrong. He should have at least told Iris what he was planning to do. At the very least. He did it behind her back because he was angry and because he knew that she wouldn't agree with what he was doing. That's it. That's the bottom line on that. So, well, it's not Iris's decision. And that's what I'm saying. He only told her because he didn't want to deal with the fact that she wouldn't agree with him. And so there's that. So with that being said, a lot of people were siding with Nora. They were siding with Iris on this. And I totally disagree with that. I think ultimately Barry bears the brunt of the anger of other people because of what he did, only because he had to do what he had to do. And it was justified in this episode. 2 hands in the air. Barry was absolutely right because Nora, as soon as she got back to the future, she went back to working with Eobard Thawne. And you may say, well, that's because she was mad at her dad or because of the fact that he left her there or whatever. It doesn't matter. She made a promise to him that she would never, ever speak to Eobard again. And she made that promise before he ever took her back to the future. So this means that she went back to him, telling me that Nora was basically brainwashed by Eobard. So whether she intended to do bad things or she intended to do all the things that happened, in this season, she was brainwashed by Eobard, and that makes her very dangerous. Some people have said Barry should have kept Nora closer because he knew that Nora could be impulsive and make these kinds of decisions. Nora is a product of both Iris and Barry. And in this episode, they did a really good job of showing how Nora is a lot like her parents. She's impulsive and emotional, like her mother can be sometimes, and she's negligent and airheaded, and she makes mistakes like her dad does sometimes, and that's who the character is. You know what I'm saying? That's it. So her going back and talking to Eobard is a mistake that she made. Barry was right about it. With Iris going to the future to confront her and causing her to get upset. So, Richard, absolutely, 100%, 1000% Eobard intended this. And we're going to talk about that in a second. I'm getting to that. When Iris went to the future to confront Nora and talk to Nora and basically say goodbye to Nora, did that cause Nora to become evil? Did that cause her to tap into the negative speed force? Is that what that caused? Was Iris the catalyst for that? Yes and no. Yes and no here, all right? Yes, Iris bears some responsibility for causing Nora to get super emotional. However, Nora was already on that path. She was already heading down that path. She may have reached that conclusion without Iris being there. We don't know that for sure. But the one thing is certain is that she was definitely heading in that direction to begin with. She went back to talk to Eobard and all of that. So to me, Nora proved that she is untrustworthy because she cannot even adhere to a promise that she made to her dad, saying, I will not talk to Thawne again. And then she goes back and she gets taken back and she immediately starts talking to Thawne again. And what does she do? She defies her dad by running back to 2019. What is happening here? And based on the preview for next week, it looks like she's still making bad decisions. She's still making bad decisions. So to me, Barry was 1000% right about not trusting Nora. Now, whether or not he was right about what he did in terms of like how he handled it, that's up for debate. That's up for debate. All right. So, well, I didn't see what Mike Horan posted, but I see that, super chat. So let's go through the super chats real quick before we move on to the next thing. Amir with the $5 super chat says, plot fix 2046 occurred before Flashpoint. Connor Hawke was adopted as John Jr. and Sarah was his sister. After Flashpoint, Sarah became John and Hawke's till adopted. That would be fine. But I mean, that's a fan thing. They would have to actually do that in the show. And I don't think we'll ever get any more on that story. I think that's pretty much a ship that's already sailed, but thank you so much. Mike Horan with a $2 super chat says, why is Sherlock still catching shade? Because the plot needs him to. He doesn't, he's actually, he's done all the right things and he's still catching shade. But you know what? People don't like to hear the truth. That's why a lot of people online, whenever someone has a strong opinion and they're right, they get a lot of people attacking them simply because people don't like the truth. The truth is not something that people are inherently conditioned to hear. And so Wells is just like, this is exactly what it is. He's very logical. He's very specific. He's very concise on what he does. And so the truth becomes something where it's like, I don't want to hear it because I know that it's reality, but if I don't speak it into existence, then it's not going to matter. And a lot of times with these stories, it's the same way with these characters. If I say anything about a character that is actual 100% factual, or anybody in here does that, you get attacked for it because people have their favorites, they have things they love, and they don't want to hear negative stuff about it. So Canada Graphs, I would disagree with you on that. For me, in my experience, whenever I post something that's the truth, I do get a mixed bag of reactions, but the people that don't like what I'm saying typically are very vile and toxic about it. So that's just my experience. And I think to some degree, that's probably why they're putting Wells in that spotlight. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it. You guys can, you can bring up your own conclusions to that. So let's talk about the time spear, because yes, you were being sarcastic. I'm not good with sarcasm in chat for some reason. I don't know. Let's talk about the time spear, because I was absolutely right. And so many people, I love it when the show justifies me. I love it. Thank you so much, writers. Sometimes you can do things that work for me. I've been saying for 3 weeks now that the time spear does not have a time drive in it. That it does not function like the Wave Rider. It doesn't function like a jump ship. It doesn't function like a speedster. It is literally a navigational device that protects someone as they travel through time, through the Speed Force or through a time, what would you call it? It's not the time stream. I guess it's just the Speed Force. So the time spear can go through the Speed Force. You have to have somebody to open up a breach into that for them to travel, and that's what it's for, right? That's the purpose of that device. It doesn't actually time travel on its own. And in this week's episode, even though the path to get to it, basically getting the spear to work and getting the bazooka to work, the two of those things had to come together because the time spear itself does not actually time travel. Thank you so much. And then they drop the ball and they don't take the gun with them to the future, but then they're still able to get back. So how did you get back from 2049, you guys? You didn't have a speedster, you didn't have the bazooka. How did you so you gave me a big thumbs up proving that I was right, and then you give me a big thumbs down by completely forgetting what you just set up like 20 minutes prior. Wow. Okay. So yes, I did like how Ralph attached himself to the time spear. I liked Ralph in this whole episode. It was great to have Ralph as such a good friend for Iris, knowing that he didn't want her to, she was going to do what she wanted to do. And instead of letting her go out on her own, he's like, I'm going to help you. I did like that. That was a nice touch. There's a lot of people that don't like Ralph. Didn't Cicada use the time spear to time travel too? She wasn't using a speedster. It's never been brought up. It was never explained, Polaris. And that was how this whole thing began, where people hated me for bringing up the fact that the time spear does not actually time travel. It is like a car with no engine. That's what it is. Nobody seemed to believe me. And then this episode proved that I was right. And then they forgot their own thing in 2049. You like how Ralph didn't know about the time vault because they just didn't tell him anything. Yeah, that's pretty true. That's fun. So also, why does the future suit have no type of device that helps with getting frozen? By now we know that cold weather is like the bane of a Flash. So they should have been able to put something in, some sort of device to do that. I didn't skip it. I haven't gotten to it yet, Omega. I've got them right in front of me. Thank you, Monique, for the $1 super chat, just supporting the show. Thank you so much. So Omega, $1.99 super chat. Do you think Nora erases herself before season 6? Do you want me to talk about leaked photos or just give my opinion? Is that what you want? You want me to talk about leaked photos? I think Mr. Canada Graphs, might know a little bit about that. Do I think Nora's going to erase herself? So you mean like sacrifice herself before the end of the season, or just by circumstances erase herself? I don't think Nora would actually sacrifice herself. I don't think that would happen. I think if Nora gets erased, it's because she's made mistakes. That's what I think. I think Nora's going to have to pay the price for her mistakes. She might have a decision to make. You know what I mean? Like they may say, if you don't do this, then this may happen. I don't think she's going to be the one to go out in the front line and have anything to happen to her. But Nora is literally, next to Wells, the most expendable character, right? So yeah, if she actually, I don't think she'll sacrifice herself. If she gets erased, it's because she actually did something stupid. Yeah. I mean, that would be why. It's a plot convenience that keeps him down. You're right, Mr. Wolfchamp. Absolutely. Barry used a portal to get Nora to the future. Since when does that work? Do you mean like a breach portal? Is that the effect they use? Because I was assuming they just ran through time. So with that being said, let us go ahead and talk about the big thing that happened at the end of the episode that I think everybody is waiting to talk about. And that is that Nora runs back to 2019 in a scene that reminded me a lot of Savitar. Was I right in thinking that was like a Savitar type portal that she was running through? It looked like a Savitar portal. Is that to suggest that Savitar was utilizing the negative Speed Force? Or was that just me and wishful thinking with that? So she goes back to 2019 and it looks like she has red lightning mixed in with her normal lightning now. And she's got the red eyes like Eobard had when he was fully charged up with his negative Speed Force. So I made a video, I think months ago, probably 4 or 5 months ago, where I said, what happens if Nora is the Reverse Flash? I expect that video to probably pick up a lot of traction over the next couple days. Because now it looks like she's going to be negative or not negative, reverse excess. So yeah. Yes, Nora looks really cool with the red lightning. We also saw in the preview for next week that, she's still not going to be back with Team Flash. So we're going to get another week of like, quote unquote, evil Nora. Nora will probably be a lot faster now that she's a negative speed force. I'm curious if Nora's going to be able to do her reversing time ability. You know what I mean? The reverse time thing that she does with her normal powers. I wonder if that's going to work with the connection to the negative speed force. This is also, you guys, the negative speed force is sort of a plot device so that Nora can travel without Barry being able to track her. That's probably going to come into play before the end of the season. And yes, Eobard, why does he care about Nora so much? Probably because he gets to teach someone brand new how to be a speedster. He had to teach Barry to be a speedster because he had to. Nora, he's helping her because she looks up to him. Maybe he likes the fact that there's someone that looks up to him and doesn't judge him for what he did. That's possible. That's a possibility. Eobard sees season 1 Barry and Nora. Yeah, I agree with that. The new suit in the next episode, I think it's just a jacket and a black suit, right? I didn't think it was like a full-on new suit. I'll have to go back and watch it. Eobard has only known Nora for a few minutes. How can he care so much? Because Eobard can read the book that tells him the entire life of somebody. That's what that book does. The book with the chronological Speed Force language in it. So he knows a lot of what's going on. And that brings me to something that was mentioned earlier, right? Does Eobard know what he's doing? Is this all by circumstance or is this a plan that Eobard has had? I'm going to guess this is a plan. I'm going to go down. Let me chalk this up here. Eobard Thawne knows what he's doing. I believe that he knows everything that's happening. I think that he's planned it all out. I think that he's roadmapped this because he made a point a couple episodes ago of saying that he knows everything about this timeline. So that's what I'm thinking. What do you guys think in the chat? Let me know what you think about that. Do you think Eobard knows what he's doing or he doesn't know what he's doing? I think he does. Growly says, how can you look up to someone without judging them by what they did? She looks up to him and not in not a moral way, but as a mentor. She knows that her father's not going to help her. So she looks up to him because he's the next person. And actually, I would say Eobard probably knows more about the Speed Force and the negative Speed Force than Barry does. That's how I think she looks up to him. Monique with a $2 super chat with a comment here. Thank you so much, Monique. Negative Speed Force is being introduced for Red Death. That's a good theory. I actually have a Red Death video that I've already made. I'll probably put a poll up, but you guys can answer now. Outside of my Flash review, would you rather have a Godspeed video or a Red Death video? What are you guys thinking? I have both of them made. They're going to go out this week, but which one should I release first? Red Death or Godspeed? Because both of them are pretty fun. They were fun videos to make. I see Red Death, both. Red Death, both. Godspeed, Red Death. A lot of Red Death people. Yeah. So I don't want to give too much out about my Red Death video, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun and it's interactive. So you guys will be able to interact with the video. It's a brand new thing I'm trying out because I've got a few things I'm doing on my channel. So we will together try that out and see if it works. Also, if Eobard used a negative Speed Force, why did he lose his speed in the past? I think because the negative Speed Force doesn't function the same way that the Speed Force functions. And if he lost his connection, it's probably because the negative Speed Force requires something else to connect to it. But I could be wrong. I'm just kind of guessing out there. So then at the very end, after all of this, we get the Barry and the Iris conversation where Iris admits that Barry was right, which is great. I'm glad that she did. And Barry also admits that Iris was right, which is great. So now they're back together. West Allen, Power. I like that both of them, they were able to admit that they were both sort of wrong. That Barry was wrong for not telling Iris and that Iris was wrong because Nora ended up doing exactly what Barry thought that she was going to do. So all of that I did like. I think that was great. Where is Earth 2 Eric's Reloaded? He is not returned yet. But this summer, We're going to have some special stuff with Earth 2 Eric's Reloaded. Maybe Earth 2 Pagey. There's been discussions about it. It's going to be funny. You guys have to wait. So that's where I guess I'm going to wrap it up there, you guys. We're already at the hour and 20-minute mark, which is my normal. We went the normal length. Wow. All right, cool. Go ahead in the chat and give me your score for this week's Flash. What did you think of it on a scale of 1 to 10? Earth 2 Pages from New Zealand. That's funny. What did you think of this week's Flash on a scale of 1 to 10? 8, 9. Earth 19, Eric. I don't know. I would love to see I'd love to see Accelerated Man come back. 7. So it's kind of all over the place. This one's going like from 5s to 10s. So there's a huge like sliding scale there. With all of those. So Anti-Monitor is breaking it up. He's like, this is my score for each section of the episode. 7.5 out of 10. That's a fun way of doing it. Giovanni, 1.5 out of 10. Earth -1, Turner. I would love that. That would be awesome. All right. Thanks you guys so much for hanging out with me. We had no Pagey tonight because he's a shill and he went to see Endgame really early. I'm very upset about that. He'll be back next week and we're going to be doing an Endgame live stream together. A special live stream next week for you guys. So definitely look forward to that. If there's any other super chats, speak now or forever hold your peace before I head out of here. But I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and it's been a lot of fun. And I will have my Flash review up first thing tomorrow. And the Red Death video will be the next video that I release, and it's different from any of my other videos. It's a brand new style of video. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. And if you do like it and it gets a lot of support, I will do it for more characters. Trust me, there's a possibility for a really good new series on my channel if this works out. Do I think the multiverse is real in real life? Yes, I do actually. I think it's 1,000% real. I'm going to see Endgame tomorrow, and then I'm seeing it again on Thursday, and then I'm seeing it again on Saturday. So I'm seeing it 3 times this week already. But I'm actually so excited because Thursday, before I see Endgame, I'm going out to have Japanese cooked on a flat top. What is it? I can never remember my favorites. They've got a really good menu there, and I can never remember my favorites, but I like the vegetables and the beef, the really thinly sliced beef. I love that. So good. And sake. Oh, it's going to be so funny. Do you guys want me to do a quick live stream? Yeah, hibachi. Yeah, I know that's what it's called. I'm talking about the menu, the food items that I like. I couldn't remember what my favorite was. Now you're hungry. Would you guys like for me to go live for like 5 or 10 minutes after Endgame and just give my first impressions? Like, just do a quick live stream from my phone and say, non-spoilery, did I like it? Did I not like it? What my thoughts are really quick? Or would you rather me wait and do like a full non-spoiler review on Friday morning? Name it a food stream. Okay, so a lot of people are saying yes. All right. So we may do that. I know me and Paige are going to talk about it separately. We're going to do a whole Marvel Endgame live stream for that. So, yeah. I'm going to do a spoiler review, but I'm going to wait and do the spoiler review like Monday. You know what I mean? So I'll wait the whole weekend so that the majority of people get a chance to see it. So anyway, that's it, guys. I'm out of here. Look for my Flash review first thing in the morning. I am sweating. It's like 80 degrees Fahrenheit here. I should probably cut on my AC. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, and I will catch you next time. See you guys later. Have a good night.